Right now, the market's going lower. It could be 30%, it could be 50%, it could be 60%, 70%, but it's headed lower, and it's going to continue going lower until we get a genuine Fed pivot and or the inflation rate comes down to less than 4% on the headline CPI that allows Powell to stop hiking interest rates. Well, first of all, the recession inertia is now unstoppable. Even if we had a genuine Powell pivot right now, or he was to pause hiking interest rates, forget about even a genuine pivot, the recession inertia is unstoppable. And we can go through all the evidence of that a little bit later on in the interview. But Wall Street was like a sycophant begging Powell to pivot, and he did indeed pivot in his last press conference. But he pivoted to be more hawkish instead of dovish. So what he said was that we might instead do 2 25 basis point rate hikes in one, not 3. That might be down the road. But the ending point, the plateau point, is going to be close to 5%. So it is going to be higher than he thought it was going to be in September. And he said, when we get there, forget about what the Fed futures curve is doing. We are not going to immediately cut rates back to 0%. We're going to stay at 5% for a very long time, for many months. So what we have is a very steep recession brewing. First 2 quarters of 2022 were negative, Q3 slightly positive, and we can get into why I think that was mostly BS, ephemeral and temporary. We have the fattest, into that recession, we have the fastest rate of change. So interest rates on the overnight interbank lending rate are going from 0% in March of this year, we were still at 0, all the way to 5% in March. And quantitative tightening has just ramped up. It started in September. We're just now cutting about 90 to 95 billion a month off of the balance sheet. So that's the environment we are in now. And yet we still have the equity market at a higher price to earnings ratio, higher price to sales ratio, and a higher total market cap to GDP ratio than any other time prior to 2020. That's how expensive stocks still are. So that's your environment, and that's why I'm still bearish. Yes, I am very bearish. I think we have a 30% drop from here, unless and until we have a genuine Powell pivot, which takes interest rates back to 0, which goes back into QE, and or we get CPI below 4%. You're not going to get either of those things probably until Q2 2023. Inflation is a subjective term, and people define it as, rising prices, inflating the M2 money supply, M3 money supply, Fed's balance sheet. Inflation in reality is when the market loses faith in a currency's purchasing power. So what we have now is deflation in some aspects of the market and economy. I mean, let's look at Bitcoin, which is actually falling out of bed. Deflation there. Okay, deflation in Bitcoin. Deflation in equity price. We're about to have deflation in real estate prices. We've had deflation in bond prices, but we have disinflation in CPI, the Consumer Price Index. So we have deflation on Wall Street and in asset prices, disinflation in CPI. I think CPI could disinflate, hopefully, towards 4% by the second quarter, sometime in the second quarter of next year, just because base effects here, because of the asset bubble implosion that we're going through, because of no fiscal stimulus. When you want to weave in the election, okay, Wall Street is never bereaved of a narrative to get you bullish. Seasonality, it's a good seasonality to buy stocks. Oh, it's the midterm elections. Well, I think we had midterm elections in 2018, and that didn't bode too well for stocks. So they always come up with these narratives. Well, now the narrative is, hey, we're going to have gridlock in DC. Well, wonderful. Gridlock is great in the long term. I'm all for it. I'm a libertarian. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. But you're going to need, in order to attenuate and truncate this recession, you're going to need some massive fiscal and monetary support. You're not going to get any monetary support. You're not going to get any TARP program. You're not going to get any helicopter money passed. So you're going to have no help. You're only going to have the automatic stabilizers that kick in during any recession. That's not going to be enough to turn this thing around very quickly.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Marco Stan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Marco Stan.